Okay, we're in volume 5 of the Bible story. And now we are, if you've been following, we're in part 4, story 7, The Good Boy King. Another boy king. Interesting. Uh, excuse me. Okay, part 4, story 7, The Good Boy King. After Manasseh died, his son Amon came to the throne, but he only reigned 2 years. A bad lad as his father had been, he was killed by his servants. Then his little boy Josiah became king. And this time it is Josiah. 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 Josiah was only 8 years old at the time of his coronation. And that's very young to be a king. Yeah, but Mary was 3 months old. Oh, sorry. Uh, history facts. Okay. But she was a queen. Uh, he must have been a very good. Wait. He must have had a very good mother, for from the start he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. When he was 16, while he was yet young, he gave his heart to God, and when he was 20, he had to clean things up in the city in a big way. By his orders, the altars of Baal was broken down in his presence. He went personally to see that the idols were destroyed. As for the worst of the sun image, he cut them down himself. Sun images. All the wooden idols he burnt, scattering the ashes on graves of those men who sacrificed to them. Oh, he took the ashes and put it on the graveyard. The metal images were ground to dust also, even as Moses destroyed the golden calf in the wilderness. Having cleaned out all the idols from Jerusalem, Josiah went throughout all the land of Israel and did the same in every city and village, since the Assyrians had gone back to their homeland by now. There was nobody to stop him. As he went on his way, he asked for offerings to help repair the temple, which had been badly damaged during the reign of Manasseh and his wicked son Amon. Poor as the people were, they gave what they could. This money was brought to Jerusalem and used to buy stone and lumber and to pay the workmen. At this time, an amazing discovery was made. As the money for the repair of the temple had been poured out of the chest in which it was kept, Hilkiah, Hilkiah, the high priest, spied a roll of parchment. Picking it up, he saw that it was the book of law of the Lord given by Moses. No doubt somebody had hidden it in this chest long ago to keep it safe from enemies. Excitedly, he called to Shaphan, 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 the scribe. I have found this book of law in the house of the Lord. And then it has a picture of him finding it, or an illustration of him finding the book of the law. Okay. Sheriffin could hardly believe his ears. This was too good to be true. Everybody thought the books of Moses had been destroyed long since. Running to Habakkuk, he eagerly took the book from the high priest's trembling hands. Yes, it was indeed the long lost temple copy of the sacred book written by Israel's greatest leader. With the book clutched in his hands, Seraphim hurried to tell Josiah the wonderful news. Then he read the long passages from it to him. As Josiah listened, he was deeply moved. Suddenly he realized how far the children of Israel had fallen into sin, how deeply they must have disappointed God. You see, people did not have Bibles in their homes in these days. Almost the only sacred writings known, besides the Psalm of David and the Proverbs of Solomon, were in the books of Moses, and not even the king had a copy of them. Knowledge of God will depend largely on people's memories, and they weren't too good. That's why the discovery of this book was so very, very important. You can imagine what Josiah thought as he heard the Ten Commandments read to him from the sacred scroll for the first time in his life. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother. And then it has a painting right here by Manning D and then a V Lee. And I'll show you what it looks like. And it's of Seraphim or Seraphim, or if you want to say the English way, probably be Stephen. It's about the same. And there's him reading it. And it says, in the caption, it says, when Seraphim, the scribe, read to King Josiah the counsel of God from the sacred scrolls that had been lost so many years in the rubble of the temple, the king was moved with grief. Okay, let's finish the Ten Commandments. It says, honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. We have broken them all, the young king must have cried, as though all the wicked things his people had been doing. Then, in silent awe, he listened as Seraphim read, it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come unto thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shall be cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke. The king was shaken with dismay and grief. Go inquire of the Lord for me, he said to Hilkiah and to Zephon, Sharphan, for great is the wrath of the Lord that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of the Lord, to do after all this is written in this book. Hilkiah and Shaphan went to Huldah, 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 the prophetess, for counsel. She told them that Judah would indeed be punished for all the evil it had done, but this punishment would not come in the days of Josiah, because he had humbled himself before God and wept for the transgression of his people. When Josiah received this message, he called everybody to Jerusalem and Judah to meet him in the temple. When they arrived, he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of the Lord. Publicly he made his own promise to the Lord to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul. Then he asked everyone to stand who would join him in this rededication to God. While the people were repentant, while the people were repentant, he told them of his plan to keep the Passover again, as of old. They were glad, and there was no Passover like to that kept in Israel from the days of Samuel the prophet. It was good that it was so, for that many have been in the last Passover old Jerusalem and Solomon's temple ever saw. When good King Josiah died, Judah's last hope died with him. Little more than 20 years later, both city and temple were no more. And then it has the priest and the scribe going to the prophetess Huldah. And there she's telling them what God told them. So God can use a woman to be a prophet too. Okay. And guess what? It's break. Break time. So that was part 4, story 7. And we're going to break, and then I'll be back here in just a sec with the next one. See you in a bit.